lids are all right now?
Yes,
Are you supposed to, you don't have to smash your can?
you don't have to smash it, but if you want to, that's fine. Because it does help keep the lid in. If you put the lid in it and then you kind of squeeze it, it helps keep the lid. So here's just some general questions that we've been having. Why are plastic salad containers, yogurt containers, and hinge lid clamshells considered trash now? And so the answer is that local material recovery facilities, that's where we send our stuff to in Gresham, near Portland, don't have the sorting equipment to process these items properly. Easily crushable, thin, lightweight plastics, such as those salad containers, become flattened in the sorting process and they get sorted incorrectly. These items end up most of the time in the paper stream, and that lowers the quality of the recycled paper and makes it hard to sell or recycle back to those places who leave more paper, because if you're trying to make paper and there's a salad container in it, that's not going to work very well, right? And then another thing that we get a lot of questions on is glass. Can glass now go into the recycling cart, or why can it not go into the recycling cart? When glass is in single stream, when we dump it out of the truck or when we put it in the truck, it all breaks. And so that causes safety concerns for our employees when we're dumping it out on the floor. But it also is really hard to sort out of commingled recycling because it just turns into sand basically. So we do still accept glass at the recycling center, and we usually use it for a land amendment out at the landfill, or we sell it as like a sea glass. We tumble it so all the edges are soft, and we'll use them in art projects with kids at schools. And we're actually looking into having it turned into sand because there's a lot of sand shortage. Some companies have approached us wanting to buy it to turn into sand.
Where is there a place that might do that, accept that?
Except what? Except the glass? So we do accept the glass at Moscow Recycling.
No, but after you pulverized it or whatever.
I believe
It has
there's
to
a
go
place.
someplace.
Yeah, I think there's a place like north of Spokane
Okay,
that has.
so there is a market.
There used to not be, but yeah, there is now all of a sudden. And then our plastic grocery bags recyclable. And this is a yes and a no answer. So no loose grocery bags and films clog the sorting lines at these recovery facilities. And they shut down the equipment. It gets all binded up. These employees have to put on head-to-toe safety gear for anti-cuts and stuff, and crawl in there and cut out all the plastic bags that are recycled. So that's why we don't accept it. Well, part of the reason that we don't accept it anymore. But you can still take them back to your grocery stores. So Winco has an acceptance bin for them, and so does Safeway.
And you can put them in the little stands for the dog.
Yes, also that.
When you're on your walk with the dog.
They
Yes,
always need them.
yes, they do. They do. So I wanted to talk about something that other communities are doing. Oh, yes, I'll do you.
When you were talking about the glass recycling, there used to be a bigger container near the Safeway store.
Yes.
And so that was convenient for me. Are you guys thinking about doing that again?
Tim, you might be able to speak to this, but I believe the answer was it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't being utilized.
Yeah.
that much.
Oh my gosh.
I know. It's also hard because Moscow is small enough that it's like, the recycling center has to be like a mile and a half maybe away from where the secondary location was.
Yeah.
So that probably was part of it too, since it was underutilized.
Okay.
So something that Boise is doing that a lot of people have been asking us questions about is their hefty energy bag. So what they do, this is their guide to recycling or managing plastics, is that in their recycling carts, they accept the same thing we do. Plastic bottles and jugs with a screw top lid that are plastic, number 1 and number 2. But then they have their hefty energy bag. And in that, you can put plastics 4, 5, 6, and 7. So plastics number 3 still go into the landfill there. So those are going to be like your clamshells, your plastic bags, your red bags, and stuff like that. And what happens with those is you have a set amount of these hefty bags in your household every year. Then when you fill it up, you put it in the top of your recycling bin and they collect those. Then that stuff gets transported to Utah and it is then made into oil. And then they have what goes in their trash. So any unlabeled plastics or something that's not accepted in these two items, or any two materials that are bonded together. So like dog food bags are often plastic on the outside and paper on the inside. Those will go into their landfill. That program is very successful in Boise, but it costs the city $700,000 a year. So it's very expensive. And something like that isn't really available in our region, so if we were interested in that, it would be trucking it down to Utah. So that's not very feasible.
Well, I've noticed as I've started paying attention to what plastic I do have, you know, I have found a lot of number one sort of clear plastics that are not, bottles.
Yeah,
And so that just goes in the garbage?
yeah, it does. I know, I used to eat, I still do eat, a lot of berries. So I'm getting those clamshell containers, probably 1 or 2 a week. And
Well,
I'm like, but they're number 2. But it doesn't, they're still.
well, it's, you know, too, like I've noticed, that some beverage containers come as a cup, you know, it's clear, but that's number 1 or whatever. So I guess the thing about using reusable stuff is good too.
Oh, yes, oh, yeah, as much as you can. And it would also be helpful, just manufacturers, if you could put more things in like paper form or something. I know if you buy berries at Co-op, a lot of the time they come in that same paper the egg cartons are made out of. So those are recyclable. So where you buy to does make a difference. So the city has put out this, reduce your waste. I think it's on their website, is that right, Tim?
Yeah.
So this is on their website and it just has tips about staying away from plastics and waste altogether. So bring your own bag, be mindful of packaging, think durable, reusable goods, opt out of buying something if it's in plastic, just don't even buy it. Buy used if you can, compost, buy recycled, and repair, give, trade, or sell items.
If you take your Rosars sacks back to Rosars now, does everybody know this? They'll give, if you bring your Rosars bags back, they'll give you a 5-cent credit for each bag.
Really?
I got a 10-cent credit on my last bill.
Oh, okay.
You know, if you've been there before and you bring back your bags.
Oh, that's so great. So that must be their
Any
reusable.
cloth
Yeah, they'll
bag
give
too,
you that.
doesn't have to be rose.
Yes, but I just thought it was interesting that they'll do it for their own bags, their own brown
Yeah,
paper bags.
that's really
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Yeah,
Those brown bags are nice with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we are doing in the community, so earlier I talked about we're doing house calls for if you get marked as contamination, I'll come visit your house. And then compostable cups pilot, we're working with Brandy at One World to get some compostable cups from her to see if they will compost in our system that we have out at LSI, because that could maybe be an option for businesses in the future. And the recycled art contest we did with Marksville Middle School, they have a recycled art contest where they tried, it was like to make their mascot with recycled goods. And it was so cool, I can't believe how creative those kids are. Then we do tours for schools and community members. And I thought about making something where every month on the 3rd Thursday evening, we do a tour of the recycling center. So that might be in the works, look out for that. And then we also do have solid waste audits for schools available. So Moscow Middle School has always done one, and that's really good, but we want to reach out to other schools for that too.
The city is using these compostable cups, but it's kind of unclear what happens to them afterwards. The
So,
last event I was at, they went into the trash, so.
some companies use compostable cups right now. And unless they're removing those compostable cups, most of the time those are for to go. People are probably throwing those into their trash at home. Or a business might just throw them into their landfill. So that's just as good as using a regular compostable cup, because when you put something compostable into the landfill, it doesn't compost. It's still a landfill item, right? So we're trying to get away from that, or we're trying to work with companies, businesses who want to get away from that and provide an option for them. But at our composting facility at LSI, we're just not sure if it'll work, because those are for industrial, composting facilities, and we're not sure that ours gets hot enough, because we just do like brush and leaves and, you know, basically clean out your garden and we compost it. So we're trying to work on that, yeah. And then that can, yeah, I know a lot of companies do that, so that'll be nice. And then I just wanna move on to any questions that you guys have.
I'm wondering if you're aware of studies, research being done on what to do with all this plastic. There must be a method to turn it into something useful again, other than the ones in.
I have that. I have some information about that. Untitled Charter School is participating in the Trex Challenge. And Trex is the company, maybe some of you know already, that makes plastics into wood-like products for decking and framing and that kind of thing. And so as part of their project, they are collecting all of these items, and I have one of these for everybody, that shows all the different things that some of these can't go to recycling, they can't go at any of these other places. But produce bags, grocery bags, cereal box liners, ice bags, Ziploc bags, case overwrap, you know, the plastic, clear plastic that goes over a bunch of pop bottles or whatever, newspaper sleeves, dry cleaning bags, plastic shopping bags, and bubble wrap even. And so what they're doing is they're collecting all these items at their school. They ask that people just put them in something, a container of some kind, and drop them off at the school. And we've got the address of the school on here. Anytime, even on the weekend, you can put it just outside the school on their bench that they have out in front. And they'll add it to their supplies. Only one class is really focused on this project right now. They have already gathered 300 pounds of these plastic materials, and you can imagine how much that is, because it doesn't weigh much. And they've only started just in October, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so, and what they'll get from this, if they win the competition, is a bench made out of Trex that they use in their, on their campus there at the school.
Yes.
And these kids are really focused on it. You will see a letter to the editor from one of the kids this weekend probably about it. And so I'm promoting that right now. Also, they will take stuff like this. This is, you would call that styrofoam, but it really isn't. But it's a type of polystyrene that's number 4. This is number 4. They'll take number 2 and number 4 as well. And so